What if I told you one of Batman's darkest and most emotionally devastating stories ever written is finally getting the full-on animated treatment it deserves? Yeah, that story. The one where the unbreakable Batman finally breaks. Hey everyone, welcome back to the movie Sentry. Today we've got some massive news straight out of New York Comic-Con. Warner Bros. Animation, DC, and Warner Bros. Home Entertainment just announced that the legendary Batman Knightfall storyline is officially being adapted into a multi-part animated film series. And trust me, if you know how brutal, psychological, and game-changing the original comic run was, then you know how big this really is. So let's break down everything we know, from the creative team to the story to what this means for the future of DC animation. At New York Comic-Con, DC dropped what might be their biggest animation bombshell in years. They confirmed that Batman Knightfall, the 1990s comic book saga that introduced Bane and forever changed Batman's world, is officially being adapted into a multi-film event. The first chapter is titled Batman Knightfall Part 1 Knightfall, and it's already in production. According to Warner Bros., the movie is set to release sometime next year, with more chapters following after. Now, if you're wondering just how big this story is, Knightfall isn't a short, simple arc. It's a massive saga split into 3 parts: Knightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End. It's an emotional and physical war that pushes Bruce Wayne to his absolute breaking point, literally and mentally. Let's rewind for a second. In the original comics, Knightfall begins with Gotham in chaos. Bane, a new, mysterious villain fueled by both intelligence and brute strength, hatches a master plan. He breaks open Arkham Asylum and releases every major villain Batman has ever locked away. The Joker, Scarecrow, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, all free, all at once. And here's the genius of it. Bane doesn't attack Batman head-on. He lets the chaos wear him down. He watches as Batman runs himself ragged, fighting night after night, losing sleep, losing strength, until he's a shadow of himself. Then, when Batman is completely drained, physically broken and mentally exhausted, Bane finally strikes. And in one of the most iconic moments in comic book history, Bane lifts Batman over his head and literally breaks his back. That's not a metaphor. That's the moment when Gotham's protector falls. But what happens when Batman falls? That's where Knightquest and Knight's End come in. With Bruce Wayne incapacitated, Gotham needs a new protector, and that's when Jean-Paul Valley, also known as Azrael, steps in. Now, Azrael is different. He's more brutal, more unstable, more unpredictable. He doesn't follow Bruce's code. He kills, he maims, and he takes justice into his own hands. So while Bruce is fighting for his recovery, Gotham is being protected by a man who's turning Batman's symbol into something darker. It's one of the most compelling arcs in Batman's history, because it's not just about fighting villains, it's about identity, legacy, and the cost of obsession. If Warner Bros. Really commits to adapting all 3 parts, Knightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End, we're looking at one of the most emotionally rich and character-driven Batman stories ever put to animation. Now let's talk about the creative team. Batman Knightfall Part 1 is directed by Jeff Wamster and written by Jeremy Adams, both names that DC animation fans should recognize. Wamster directed Justice Society World War II and Legion of Superheroes, while Jeremy Adams wrote Batman Soul of the Dragon and multiple Superman animated projects. That combination alone is promising. These two know how to handle serious tone, emotional arcs, and complex characters. The film is being produced by Rick Morales, Jim Krieg, and Kimberly S. Moreau, with Sam Register and Michael Uslan serving as executive producers, and if Uslan's name sounds familiar, it should. He's been involved with Batman films since the 1989 Tim Burton classic. So yeah, this team has pedigree. They know Batman inside and out. At Comic-Con, DC also revealed our first look at the official logo art for Batman Knightfall. And while it doesn't give away much, it does set a tone. Dark, gritty, heavy, and serious. The logo looks torn and weathered with that deep crimson glow behind the bat symbol. It screams fall of a hero energy. It's minimalistic but symbolic, and that's exactly what you'd want from something like this. Now, they didn't show any animation yet. No trailer, no voice cast reveals, but that makes sense. It's still in production. And honestly, that gives them time to get it right. To understand how special Knightfall really is, you've got to know how it came together behind the scenes. Back in the early 90s, Batman's creative team, including Chuck Dixon, one of Bane's co-creators, wanted to create a brand new villain. Not just another thug, not another mad scientist or clown, but a force. Someone who could challenge Batman in every way, physically, mentally, and strategically. As Dixon once said, we wanted someone who could replace the old Cold War villains, someone new, dangerous, smart, and terrifying. They built Bane around the idea of Venom, the experimental steroid that gives him superhuman strength. But it's not just muscles. Bane is calculating. He studies Batman. He waits. He plans. When he finally attacks, it's surgical. It's war. That's why Knightfall hit so hard when it first released. It wasn't about a random fight. It was about a man who used strategy, patience, and pure will to destroy Gotham's greatest protector. So why does this adaptation matter so much? Because for decades, Knightfall has been one of those impossible to adapt stories. It's too big, too layered, too psychological. We've seen pieces of it before, like in The Dark Knight Rises, where Tom Hardy's Bane breaks Batman's back. But that movie only scratched the surface. The true heart of Knightfall is what comes after. Bruce's recovery, Gotham's descent, Azrael's madness, and the painful question, what happens when Batman can't be Batman anymore? If Warner Brothers Animation pulls this off, if they give it the respect and depth it deserves, this could be one of the most definitive Batman stories ever brought to screen. Not just for fans, but for newcomers too. Of course, big stories come with big risks, and Knightfall is no exception. The biggest challenge? Pacing. This isn't just one storyline, it's a trilogy of emotional breakdowns, physical recovery, and moral struggle. If they rush it or try to condense too much into one movie, it could lose its power. Then there's the tone. Knightfall is dark, gritty, psychological. But animation sometimes softens that edge for a broader audience. Will they go all in or play it safe? And let's not forget the voice cast. Batman fans are fiercely loyal when it comes to voices. Whoever steps in has massive shoes to fill, especially after the late legendary Kevin Conroy. The tone, performances, and emotional weight all need to line up perfectly, otherwise the most iconic story in Batman history could end up feeling hollow. So what should we be looking out for as this project develops? First, trailers and teasers. That's where we'll see if the art direction goes full comic book noir or something more stylized like The Long Halloween. Second, voice announcements. Who is voicing Batman? Who's Bane? Who is Azrael? Those choices could define how fans receive this entire series. And third, tone. If Part 1 ends with Batman's defeat, it's going to set up an emotional cliffhanger that could rival anything DC has done in years. That's where the hype could explode, if the story lands. You might be asking why now? Why adapt this story in 2025? Well, look at the current landscape. Superhero fatigue is real. Audiences aren't craving more generic action. They want stories with depth, emotion, and meaning. They want character studies, redemption arcs, consequences. And Knightfall gives them all of that. It's a story about breaking down the myth of invincibility, showing the man behind the mask, stripped bare, facing the truth that even heroes can fall. It's also about legacy, what Batman's symbol means to the people of Gotham when he's gone, and who dares to carry it forward. For DC, it's the perfect chance to remind audiences why Batman's mythology still matters, not because he's unbeatable, but because he keeps coming back. So, here's where we are. Batman Knightfall Part 1 is on the way. The creative team is solid, the story is legendary. And if DC sticks to landing, this could easily become one of the greatest Batman adaptations ever made. This isn't just about fights and villains, it's about resilience, identity, and what happens when the hero you thought could never fall, finally does. If done right, this could set a new gold standard for animated storytelling, not just in the DC universe, but across the entire superhero genre. Now I want to hear from you. What are your hopes for Batman Knightfall? Would you want to see the entire trilogy, Knightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End, adapted? Who do you think should voice Batman, Bane, and Azrael? And most importantly, do you think Warner Brothers will stay faithful to the comics or give us a modern spin for new audiences? Drop your thoughts down below. We'll be reading every single one. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you're excited for more updates on the DC animated universe, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned, because we'll be covering every revealed trailer and hidden detail as they come out. Until next time, this is Movie Sentry, and we'll see you in the next one.